Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our online service this morning. I hope you're doing well, and thank you for inviting us into your home, into your living room, your kitchen, later in your week, whenever you're watching this. It's such an honor to be together on this spiritual journey as we continue going along here, and so I hope you're well. I hope that you're able to use this time we're together to use it to maybe find some balance, to center, to think about yourself and the world differently, maybe even find a bit of healing in your life as we explore love languages and all that means, and what a world of beauty that we live in, even in the midst of everything that is happening right now. As we gather each and every morning, we affirm each other. Whoever we are and however we identify ourselves, this is a place for us to be and to celebrate the sacred uniqueness of each and every one of us, and that this is a place that we can be and hold that in deep respect and honor. As we gather this morning, I'd like to have a time of prayer that's about entering the flow. Entering into the flow of the presence of the divine that's around us, it's within us, and it's beyond us, and how to be in the present moment and all the gifts that come with us. So as we start the prayer, there'll be a moment where we take a few moments to center, to take some deep breaths, to let go, and later on we'll have a moment of prayer and setting intentions for this service. So let us join together in a moment of prayer as we enter the flow. Let us pray. So I just invite you to, if you wish, to close your eyes, to feel your body, to feel your feet on the floor. Maybe you imagine that you are sitting by this stream, on the rocks, by the Old Man River, that you could hear the water flowing by the ice on the river. And as you do, I invite you to take in a deep breath, gently and deeply, and then to exhale slowly and purposefully. And as you're doing that, you might imagine as you breathe in, you begin to feel in your body, or in your mind, or in your heart, those places that feel constricted or closed, or you're carrying tension or heavy thoughts or emotions like fear or anxiety or grief or anger or frustration or whatever you feel. And as you breathe in, just recognize it. And as you breathe out, imagine that whatever it is that you feel, that it releases from your body and joins the flow of the Old Man River that we're meditating with in this moment and praying with. So I invite you to take a few moments in this silence to let go, to be present, and allow whatever is tense within you to flow out with the sound of the water, with the river. As we begin this time of worship this day, O Spirit of Life, may we know that you are always flowing within us and around us and beyond us. Help us to let go of those things that constrict our hearts, to grace and love that are always with us. Help us to let go of those things that constrict our mind, so that we think we know others and ourselves and what should happen or should be. Help us to let go in this beginning of all those constrictions of our emotions that bind us and blind us and hold us tight. And help us let go of the constrictions of pain so that we might enter this moment with you and each other and nature and all that's happening, and know that nothing can separate us from your love, from your presence, from peace, and a deep wonder of life when we let go in this beautiful moment. Amen.
Good morning. The Book of Wisdom, also known as Proverbs, has a few pithy and wise sayings around communication and speaking. The words we say and how we listen to each other and nature affect our relationships deeply. They can lead to greater understanding and healing, or conflict and division. A selection from Proverbs. Rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. A soft and gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The mind and heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of the heartless pours out the wrong words at the wrong time. Gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the body. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing personal opinion. To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. To watch over mouth and tongue is to keep out of trouble. Do you see someone who is hasty in speech? There is more hope for a fool than of anyone like that.
I know for many of you, you might speak more than one language, a human language, that is. But did you know that maybe there are many languages, that there is a love of languages, or there are love languages? And today, our story is a story of language and love of language and connecting through listening to language. It is called Do You Speak Fish? By DJ Corchin and illustrated by Dan Dougherty and published by Sourcebooks. Do you speak fish? A boy ran into a fish and said, "Hello, fish." But the fish didn't reply. "Hello, hey fish, I'm talking to you." But the fish just looked at him. "How rude," the boy said, and walked away. The boy ran into a lion and said, "Hello, lion." But the lion just ignored him. "Hey, lion, don't be rude. I'm talking to you," the boy screamed. Roar! That was a bad idea. The boy ran into a bee. He said, "Hello, bee." But the bee didn't say anything. The boy threw his hands in the air and yelled, "What's your problem, bee?" Bzzz. That was a bad idea, too. The boy came across a tree. "Hello there," the tree said. The boy was surprised. He didn't expect the tree to say anything. "Did you just say hello?" the boy asked. "It'd be rude not to," said the tree. "I agree. This fish I talked to was very rude. She just ignored me." "Well, do you speak fish?" the tree asked. "Why would I speak fish? I'm a kid." "Why would the fish speak kid? She's a fish," the tree said. "Everyone should speak kid. That's the way it is." "Not for a fish," the tree explained. "But wait, I understand you," the boy pointed out. "I learned to speak kid from a frog," the tree replied. "Well, I don't speak fish," the boy grumbled. "I can teach you," the tree offered. "You speak fish too?" "A carrot taught me," the tree replied. Kidding, I'm kidding, the tree laughed. "Everyone knows carrots can't talk." So the tree taught the boy to speak fish. The boy went back to the fish pond and said, "Hello, fish," except this time it sounded more like blurp, 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 blurp. The fish smiled and said, "Blurp, beep, blurp." Suddenly, the fish didn't seem so rude. "Well, thank you. It is a nice day out," the boy replied back. "Blurp, blurp, so long." The boy went back to the lion. "Roar, grah, rah." The lion looked at him confused. Then he burst out laughing so hard that he fell backwards with his legs in the air. The boy looked puzzled. He wasn't sure if he wanted to know what he said came out right. Maybe it was better that he didn't know. The boy was feeling a little embarrassed after that when he ran into the bee again. "Hello," the bee said. Stunned, the boy replied, "Hello, you speak kid?" "A little bit. A fish taught me to talk. She said a boy was kind enough to learn fish, so she thought she should try to learn to speak kid. A tree taught her." That made the boy happy. From then on, the boy, the bee, the fish, and the lion would sit by the tree each day and share stories. Sometimes they would speak kid, sometimes they would speak fish or bee or lion. They always worked to understand each other. And their world got a whole lot bigger. Do you speak fish? Written by DJ Corchin, illustrated by Dan Dougherty. Did you know that the boy once told me that his feet smell worse than hippopotamus breath?
What can I do? What can I breathe? What can I say? What can I sing? I'll sing with joy. I'll say a prayer. I'll bring my love to my share.
I can't even remember what book this is out of, but I stole this page, that I know, from a book in a library in Canada. And this passage just struck me. And it just says, life isn't meant to be easy. It's meant to be life. Because I was going through a hard time. Life's so hard. Life felt hard. And this just picked me up. It just cancels everything out. It says, it's meant to be tough. Deal with it. Yeah. I was really not myself. I wasn't a happy person. And I just realized I have to change. That's when I left. And that's when I picked up a camera and started photographing mainly people. I was photographing people in Mali. I was photographing people in Malawi, in Zimbabwe, in Zambia. A lot of ancient traditional cultures, a lot of contemporary cultures. And I was meeting the most incredible people. And that excited me. Less the photography, more meeting people. Connecting with people. Opening yourselves up to people. Listening to people. Engaging with them, whether they've got opposing views or not. By engaging with someone one-to-one, you have a so much fundamentally more rich experience. The wonderful thing about strangers when they meet is, and know that they're probably never going to see each other again, is that it becomes a complete, how would you call it? It's almost like being in a confessional. You just tell them everything, your deepest, darkest, and vice versa. Even if you start out as strangers, some of those people you develop a relationship with. Some people I traveled with for weeks at a time became wonderful friends. And I think that's one of the problems of social media these days. People think engagement is now shouting at one another across Facebook. That's not it. It's about engaging with people face to face. And the way you engage with someone, the language you use, your body language, the discussions that you can have over and above what you can on social media are being missed. Connecting with people is not that hard. You've got to take a bit of a step. But at the end of the day, it's actually really, really simple. To meet strangers, to learn about where they're at. And by doing that, you start understanding more about everything around you. We're all equal. Now, the richest man on earth is, is no more or less significant than you or I. Having people around you, doing what you love, you inevitably end up in a very happy place.
And Anton, his experience of life brings out some wonderful qualities, some wonderful things, tidbits that he's saying. Life is life. He discovered that life was one, and that when you engage with life, when you engage with other people, it's that you come to a deeper understanding of yourself and the world, and you come to a deeper moment of gratitude and wonder and appreciation. He really discovered when he was able to enter into the hard times of life and then go beyond where he was, that life is one, and life is waiting for each of us, no matter what is happening, if we're willing to connect. Julian of Norwich, who is an English mystic, and she has here one of her famous phrases, all shall be well. She wrote that phrase, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manners of things shall be well, when she was in a cloistered church, and it was during the Black Death, and there was a series of plagues, and you could say waves of pandemic happening. And she discovered in that life is life, and that life is hard, and she probably lost loved ones to the pandemic, that all shall be well. But she also discovered that there is this oneness to life, and there's this oneness to God. And she said it this way in her writings. She said, by myself, I am nothing at all, but in general, I am, I hope, in the oneing of love. For it is in this oneing that life of all people consists. And so in that first part, she discovered that there is this oneness, that we are all deeply connected regardless of our differences, regardless of us shouting across each other on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or whatever protest we're at. She discovered that there is this oneness, and she goes on to say further in her writings is that the charity of God creates in us such a oneing that when it is truly seen, no person can separate themselves from another. In the sight of the divine, all humans, and I would say non-humans, I added that, are one. One person is all people. And so I know sometimes in our daily lives is that we don't feel this oneness, do we? I don't know if you feel that sometimes. Sometimes we feel very separated. Sometimes we feel very lonely, alone and isolated and different. And to be one doesn't mean that we get rid of our differences. Doesn't mean that we put ourselves all in a blender and become a mush of gray. This oneness of love was holding in a great diversity, like our affirming statement. It's that there's this beauty and wonder of life and even difference in human beings. And so what we discover is that in some ways what Julian of Norwich and Anton discovered is that there are all these languages, that there are all these love languages. There's all these ways, as this slide says, that our world communicates. We have our human languages, there's relationship languages, there are non-human relations that speak to us, the forest, the soil, the earth, other creatures. Our cats and dogs have love languages that they speak to us. Our heart, our heart has a language if we're willing to listen. So does our gut and our body. Like, did you ever have that, that gut feeling? That your gut was talking to you. Our ancestors or the communion of saints, and even there is a God divine language. There's all these languages, and this is just like a spitball sort of brainstorming love languages, and that there's probably even more that you might name and you might want to put in the chat if you have something coming up for you. So, just for instance, if we look at what would be a God divine language? As I just sort of play with that, how does God's love language speak to us? I think of so many things, so many ways, sometimes through holy text, sometimes through other people, sometimes through silence. I think God's language of love is presence and grace and forgiveness, and for us, broken people who try our best but still fall down, and we get up, and there's this deep presence that we are whole in our brokenness. And then sometimes I really think there's this just deep silence, this great silence of God's love language, just listening to us and giving us permission to be the beauty and wonder and mess and healing of who we are. Or another example of all these love languages, this one's a little more concrete, could be what Gary Chapman's done. Gary Chapman, since it's Valentine's Day tomorrow, has the 5 love languages of relationships. This could be with your partner or your children. And he has 5. There's words of affirmation, there's physical touch, there's receiving gifts, there's quality time and acts of service. And often people have 1 or 2 of these, and they feel loved when another person reciprocates in that way. Like someone who has a love language of physical touch will feel loved when they receive that from you. Or maybe somebody feels loved with acts of services. And when you say, "Can I help you?" that is their love language. So that, there's another example. Or for me, one of the love languages that I'm exploring and hope to explore more this summer is, of the earth. The earth is filled with so many love languages. Does the soil speak to you? Does the tree speak to you? And in this video, we hear what it might sound like if the forest love language spoke to us.
I am the forest. I am a peaceful place, a place of poetry and enchantment. I am the harmony. I am the balance. I am a home for your spirit as I open for you the doors of wonder. I am the silence. I am the noise. I am a moment of freedom. I whisper, I listen, and I dance. I play music during the day and in the middle of the night. I get dressed in the summer, undressed in winter, and I am in an endless cycle. I exist to protect you. I exist to let you breathe. I exist to clean the air. I exist to be home to the wildlife. I exist to offer you my delicious fruits. Each tree is living, a member of an impressive family that needs to be protected. Protecting me means protecting life. I am the forest.
I think if we're sort of honest here, to listen to trees, we have to slow ourselves down. Trees, I believe, speak really at a slower vibration and pace. And so, I think in a way that's, the pithy and wise words of the book of Proverbs. It has all these things around talking, because sometimes I think as a species, it's much easier for us to talk. And talking is a really fast thing because it's of the mind. And so we talk. And sometimes our mind gets ahead of our talking and we say things that we wish we didn't say, as the proverb said. And so, to listen, there is this world out there. There's this world of our relationships with ourselves, with other humans, with non-humans, with the cosmos, all these love languages out there. And how do we discover these languages? How do we connect and learn and to be relationship? Because there's this whole world waiting for us, a world that could help us find healing and us give healing and find joy and peace and a whole bunch of wisdom beyond us if we had the patience to slow down, the patience to be, the patience to look and touch and hear and taste and all those things, and allow our imaginal wisdom and our heart wisdom and our gut wisdom to lead us. And for me, there's sort of 3 things that might help us. First of all, it's curious, curiosity. If we're not curious, then we're not open in a way. Curiosity allows us to have eyes that are willing to see and hearts open to discover. And so the first thing, if we want to discover these love languages, is to have energy and a presence and an openness to curiosity of what we think is the other. But as Julian of Norwich says, there is a oneness of love right there waiting for us if we're curious. The second thing is that will we allow ourselves to practice deep listening? It's sort of like the proverb said, deep listening requires us to be quiet, to be still, and to be open, and also to slow down. And we hear some clues of what deep listening is like from a group of people who are a part of a Christian recovery program as they talk about their experiencing of deep listening to themselves, the world, and the divine.
Deep listening, though, the expression deep listening is making a really important point, and that is that often our listening is at the surface of things. We hear what we want to hear. We hear what we expect to hear. And sort of listening deeper than that gives a skill that has to be learned. Otherwise, we're just kind of hearing ourselves talk. And there's lots of spiritual practices that help with that, learning how to listen deep. Some of them are quite challenging, I think, but they are the stuff that any real relationship needs, and certainly any spiritual relationship. This sort of, if you find that you always already know what God's going to say before you listen, you're probably listening at the surface of things.
Well, for me, deep listening is about really waking up and paying attention to what's going on. And I have been very poor at this. I have been really good at continually speaking. So deep listening is just waking up to what's going on around and being attentive to that. That's the practice for me, is being aware that what somebody's saying isn't necessarily what they're meaning. And trusting in God's movement, not only in this world and not only within me, but within other people too.
I think that when I hear that concept of deep listening, for me, it is being silent enough and shutting my head off enough. It's not the quiet. It's the real silence of listening beyond. I think the other thing about deep listening for me is that real sense of trying to be present to someone. I think there's a deep listening if I were listening to you, and there's a deep listening if I'm listening to myself. But to me, it's that sense of being present, of being fully attentive and present so that I can hear what's being said and not just acknowledge what's being said. It's really easy to look at somebody and, listen, but deep listening, I think, is going there with your soul. I think it's bringing compassion with you to the table in order to be able to listen to the things that maybe go beyond what the spoken word has to convey.
I love that, as she was talking there at the end, that deep listening is bringing our soul. That the soul for St. Teresa was the presence of God's heaven in our heart and body and life. And so we bring that energy to deep listening, whether that is with an enemy, with a partner or a spouse, children, friends, somebody we're in disagreement with, or to the trees and the animals and the rocks and to life. It's to bring that, and doing that, we go from the surface level of the waves, of the things that distract us, deep underneath, and spiritual practices teach us, and then we get into where we touch. We touch this oneness of loving, this deep connection. It changes us and the ones we listen to. And did you notice how they said that part of the practice of deep listening is being awake and aware, but also paying attention, which is the third thing. We have to bring a certain attention. Attention is when we bring focus. And Laurence Freeman of the Christian Meditation Worldwide Community explains what attention is and what attention does when we bring it to exploring all these languages of love or love languages.
One of the greatest sources of unhappiness in the world is distraction. The fact that we are distracted from what we're doing, we're distracted from the person we're with, we're distracted from the job that we're involved in, we're distracted from the present moment. And the cure for distraction is attention. How do we pay attention? What is attention, really? Well, we only have to think about how we think about receiving attention from other people to realize how important and powerful meditation is. If you have a problem and you need to discuss it with a friend, you go to see them, you want to sit and explain what you're feeling and what you're going through, and all you really ask of them is that they give you their full attention. That's the most important thing that they can do for you at that moment. And if they interrupt you after two minutes and start telling you their problems, or if they start giving you simple and obvious solutions to your problem, then you will leave them not feeling much better than when you met them. But if they do give you their full attention, then you have received the precious gift of self from them. That's what we do when we give attention to someone or something. We love them. We make that gift of self that is not easy to give, but is rich and rewarding for both the giver and the receiver. When you have received the gift of someone's attention, when they've really paid attention to you, they're really genuinely concerned, they open their hearts to you, then you feel loved, and therefore you feel much better able to cope with the problems and difficulties that you're facing. So attention is really the essential quality of all human relationships. If you love someone, you pay attention to them, and you love what you pay attention to. If you fall out of love with someone, it's because you can no longer give them your attention, or something has distracted you, maybe another person, or your job, or some entertainment. And to learn to pay attention is really to learn to be fully human. It's the essence of all good work as well, whether it's school work, whether it's professional work, whether it's work in a family, whatever you do. The work that you do depends for its quality upon the kind of attention you are giving to it. And attention means focus. It means simplicity. It means giving your attention to one thing, one person at a time. I don't mean in a fixated, compulsive, addictive way. That's not really attention. But to be able to really give yourself at that moment, in that work, to what you're doing or to the person you're with.
Isn't that profound in a way? That how much practicing curiosity and deep listening with attention, that what it does is it awakens both the giver and the receiver to a sense of their self in this oneness of love, and also then a sense of love too. That it's this gift of reciprocity. And in the way, Do You Speak Fish, our children's story today, what was about that is how when we stay at the surface level, the young boy, nothing against him, he judged everybody was rude. But he wasn't willing to have curiosity, to discover the love language or the language of love and the vibration to speak that or how to speak it with who he's with until someone helped him. And when he did, the whole world opened up. You see, that's, I think, is what's waiting for us. I know there's lots of things happening. I know we have our frustrations and we have our judgments of different people and the way they're acting right now. But we have this world filled with love languages, waiting to gift you and to gift me and to awaken us. And for me, what it does is it wakens us to wonder. Wonder. And for me, wonder, is this gift all around us in a world wanting and waiting to communicate with us and be in relationship with us, wanting to gift us with the gift of self and love and wisdom and joy, and vice versa. We can give this too. Isn't that incredible? I really truly believe our world in all its infinite diversity and beauty, and even in challenge and suffering, is that this world is inviting us, and it's wanting and waiting for us to communicate through various ways of love languages, so that we can awaken to this oneness and wanting of love that's always been there, and nothing can separate us for it. And so I hope in your own life, maybe you'll try this week. What would happen for you if you did an experiment? Maybe you approached something or someone or something in the environment with curiosity. You slowed down. You were still. You gave it your full attention and your deep listen. I can't tell you what's going to happen, but I can tell you, you will be awakened to wonder and the wanting of love. Amen.
Show by touch and word devotion to the earth, to hold in full regard all life that comes to birth. We need, oh God, the will to find the good you had of old in mind. Renew our minds to choose the things that matter most, our hearts to long for truth, till pride of self is lost. For every challenge that we face, we need your guidance and your grace. Let love from day to day be yardstick, rule, and norm, and let our lives portray your word in human form. Now come with us that we may have your wits about us where we live.
I'd like to invite us now into a time of prayer, a moment of prayer, where we have this moment to pray for the deepest yearnings of our heart, for healing, for awakening, and also then have a moment of prayer. And then at the end, if you wish, we're going to join into an adaptation of a prayer from the Apostle Paul from Ephesians, which is about this great vision where we're all waking to our wanting, as Julian of Norwich said, our wanting in love. And that everywhere we look, our world is just filled with wonder. So let us join together in this moment of prayer. O divine, may we allow ourselves to see the splendor and the beauty of our whole cosmos, even in the midst of our suffering and challenges and pain. Sometimes our human world, our human messes, our personal struggles become a burden and weigh us down. And we don't know how to find a way out to hope and peace. And so in this moment of prayer, we pray for our world, for ourselves, our family, all the ways this pandemic has affected us, isolated us, changed things, and made divisions seem bigger. Help us in this moment of silence to let go of our prayers, our search for healing, and to fall into a moment of sunshine and grace and love and the wanting of love with you and all of nature and each other. Help us to know, O God, that all things can be transformed, that everything that has an end has a beginning, that there is hope in our lives if we're willing to be curious and to listen to you and each other and this amazing planet. So we gather all these prayers, our hearts and minds, the ones that we find scary and anxious and the ones we don't have words for, with this one word and prayer of Paul. We bow before the one from whom the whole creation flows. In whom the whole cosmos grows towards the fullness of love divine. From riches inexhaustible, may strength rise in us. The Christ light fill us. Illuminating us in love sublime. And may grace unite us with all who sing love's song, until we know how high and wide and deep and long is this love supreme. All abundance now is yours. We filled up by this three-personed love. Within, beneath, beside, above, more than all our wildest dreams. Glorious is God among us. Glorious is Christ within us. Glory from beginning to end. Now and forever. Amen. I feel like just taking a breath. I don't know if you felt the energy of the prayer, of life around you. You know, the language of giving is the language of love. And before we give and have given anything, in a way the universe and the divine has loved us, and we've been given this amazing gift. And in a way, all of nature is always giving to us. So I see in the way that we give with money is one way that we can love. It makes that cycle of giving and loving and reciprocity keep going and going and going. And at McKillop, that's the energy we try and live. That what we give is for the healing and the love of others in our whole community in the world. So I'd like to thank you for the ways you give to McKillop. And if you haven't given before and like to participate in this reciprocity and cycle of love and giving, you can always do that by calling the church at 403-328-2703, or you can go to our website, www.mckillopunited.ca/donate, and there are lots of ways to give. So as we end our time together today, thank you once again for the honor of being in your life and being on this journey together. I hope as you go out into your day that curiosity catches your attention so that you stay focused on one thing at one time in one moment. And in doing so, that your heart and body and mind deep listen underneath the surface and discover in it a wanting of love waiting for you and whatever for that you're paying attention to. For our cosmos is filled with wonder and awe and love, even in the midst of all that's happening with life being life. And I pray that you experience this to the full depth that's waiting. So until we meet again, may God's love be with you, which is always is, and may God's peace be upon you, and God's blessings awaken you to life. Amen.
God of friendship, I come to know your love and care through the embodied presence of others. Weave me together with kindred spirits. Knit me more closely with friends of the soul. Cultivate in me a kinship with humanity, so that I recognize my struggles and joys in others. In my loneliness, reveal to me this communion, and may I be a solace to others who ache for connection. Transform me through conversation and loving presence. Help me to see how I am part of a great circle of pilgrims, witnesses, ancestors, and mystics who guide me to true connection with you. Gather me into your great wide heart, so I might discover I am never separate, but always held in love.
into places where I've never been before, and opens doors to worlds outside the lines. My Lord colors outside the lines, turns wounds to blessings, water into wine, and takes me into places where I've never been before, and opens doors to worlds outside the lines. We'll never walk on water if we're not prepared to drown. Body and soul need a soaking from time to time. And we'll never move the gravestones if we're not prepared to die and realize there are worlds outside the lines. My soul longs to color outside the lines. Tear back the curtain, sun come in and shine. I want to walk beyond the boundaries where I've never been before. Throw open doors to worlds outside the lines. We'll never walk on water if we're not prepared to drown. Body and soul need a soaking from time to time. And we'll never move the gravestones if we're not prepared to die and realize there are worlds outside the lines. My soul longs to color